Last year, I created my very first illustrated calendar. I wanted to take on a big project, something that I had never done before. And a calendar felt like the perfect project. And when I finished it, it felt like a huge triumph. Honestly, I couldn't believe I had pulled it off. So this year, I'm doing it again. And I thought I'd take you along for the ride. All the way from inspiration to final sketches. Welcome to part one of my 2026 calendar series. Calendars have very quickly become one of my favorite art projects, and that is because they combine creativity with purpose. They are something you live with every day, they shift with the seasons, and they're kind of a chance to tuck in little surprises month to month. But I'll be honest, when I first set out to make a calendar last year, I was completely overwhelmed. Creating 12 illustrations felt like this incredibly huge mountain that I had to climb. I had never taken on a project like this before. And that is when Liz Kohler Brown, thank goodness for Liz, swooped in, calmed my nerves, and helped walk me through the process. Inside of her membership called The Studio, I followed along on her calendar creation class. I couldn't have asked for a better guide on this journey. With her course structure and guidance, I finally had someone to lean on, some information that somebody had already gathered for me to help walk me through the entire calendar creation process. And for the first time, I finished this big, creative, personal project from start to finish. And by the way, if you are curious about the studio, and you should be, it's wonderful. I've added a free trial link in the description below so you can take a look at it for yourself. Before I start talking to you about my ideation and my sketching process, I want to tell you about the thing that probably helped me the most when it came to completing this project. And that is, I started with artwork I already had. I knew that I wanted my 2025 calendar to be Joshua Tree themed. I'm pretty obsessed with the place, and it only made sense that I made a calendar to kind of commemorate and mark my love for Joshua Tree. But I also chose that direction because I knew I already had a lot of artwork that I could easily transfer or adapt to make into these calendar pages. So that made this project feel possible instead of terrifying. And this year, I have used the same approach. I looked at all of my existing artwork, well, most of it, and I asked myself, what could form the foundation for next year's calendar? And the answer, fruit. When I did my year of block printing, I had a couple of months where I just made tons of fruit block prints. And so when I was looking through all my old work, I realized that that was a subject matter that I could take from and build on. I'm still creating new artwork, but starting with something that I've already made gives me that little head start that I need to help me keep going. I just wanted to share that tip before I move on because if you're an artist with a full-time job like me, this is a great option. You can reuse your work. You can build on it. And you can let that work harder for you. So even with a theme in mind, I still go through the whole process of inspiration gathering. For me, that looks like scrolling through Pinterest, doing lots of searches, pulling books from my personal library. Sometimes I look at books from my full-time job. I'm a book conservator. And I also, when I have a chance, I can look at the real thing because I live in Southern California where a lot of these fruits are just growing along the roadside. Now, I want to talk about one other thing. I would love to make my calendar completely by hand someday. But right now, I'm working digitally, and that is completely okay. I am using Procreate and my absolute favorite brush set of the moment, at least. It's called the Risograph Brush and Texture Kit by Retro Supply. I used the same brush set for last year's calendar, and I'm bringing it back again this year. I love this brush set because it gives me that imperfect, layered look that printmaking can give, but with the flexibility that I need. I have done a lot of my illustrations during my lunch hour at work. I wanted to share that part because as artists, we need to choose the tools and materials that work for us in our current season. And for me, that means I'm working full time. So I don't have the time to actually pull out all of my real materials. Instead, I'm using this tool, my iPad and Procreate and this awesome brush set to get to where I want to go. And that's okay. Creating my artwork digitally doesn't mean it's less meaningful. It makes it possible. Okay, so those are my tips. So from there, I started sketching out what I wanted to draw each month, January through December. I like to think about rhythm. For this particular calendar, I wanted to include fruits and vegetables, and I wanted them to be in season. So if something is ripe and ready in January, like citrus, then that's the fruit that I wanted to highlight in that month. And keep in mind that I'm going with California seasons, so it might be different where you are. I like to think about the composition month to month, how they speak to one another, how they look as one big group, as well as individually. Are there months that are going to be pow, wham, boom, and other months that are going to be understated? I think about all these things as I'm drawing out and sketching and mostly just writing words out in my first round of brainstorming. And I want to say that this part actually takes me a lot of time. I think through a lot of this process before I start drawing and sketching anything on my iPad. And that's because I want the calendar to feel like a journey through the season, not just a mishmash of all these different things that I've kind of plopped together into one calendar. During my brainstorming, I took everything one step further. So I knew I wanted to do fruits and vegetables that were in season. And then I started thinking about, oh, wouldn't it be cool if it was kind of plants that were out in the world versus plants that were coming to your table? So I have this kind of farm to table situation happening. And that idea came about during this whole brainstorming process. And so I used the sketching process to basically come up with a framework. And I'm going to follow that framework when I create every illustration. That way it feels like a cohesive set of illustrations. In the next video, I'm going to take you behind the scenes as I take my sketches and turn them into actual illustrations, and then taking those illustrations and getting them printed into a real product using my favorite print-on-demand service, Gelato. I have some exciting things coming with them, including a webinar and an interview about launching seasonal products like calendars. So if you have been dreaming about making calendars or art prints or any kind of seasonal release, I hope this series encourages you to start. Thank you so much for joining me for part 1. If you are creating a calendar or a seasonal product, I would love to hear all about it in the comments. And don't forget to grab your free week of Liz's membership if you want support building your own calendar from start to finish. I'll see you in the next one.